Hello class and welcome back to Physical Geology. Today I'm looking at the Hydrologic Cycle and Fluvial Systems Lab. It starts off with looking at the hydrologic cycle. This is pretty straightforward. Just read through this. There's a little bit of calculations you'll have to do, but it shouldn't be any problem with this part of the lab. The second part here deals with this idea of streams and fluvial systems. Important to kind of understand what's going on with this diagram here. And I have some text that outlines it, but this first part here, this letter A, it shows a main stream, sometimes called a trunk stream, and then it shows some tributary streams joining the main stream. And one thing that happens as more and more tributaries contribute water to the main stream, eventually the discharge or the amount of water in the stream will increase, right? Also, what this is showing is that they've outlined the drainage system or drainage basin, sometimes called a watershed, for this particular stream here. Each of these, you could outline the same sort of drainage basin or watershed. In other words, if water would fall on this point here, it would drain into basin Y or stream I. If water fell over here in the second purple dot, it would drain into basin X or stream X. And so essentially, these outlines of basins are really called divides. So it's a boundary between these different drainage basins or watersheds. And then we also are concerned with the type of channel flow, whether it's braided stream, a sinuous stream, a meandering stream, or a straight stream. And you'll see that one of the measures we'll be making today in lab is this idea of sinuosity. And we're going to be calculating the length and the stream in terms of its course, its true path, its windy path. So in other words, in here it'd be this kind of blue path. And then we're going to divide it by its path from 2 points as a straight line, as a crow would fly, so to speak. And so ideally for this part, you're going to need a string, right? So it says you need a string here to measure this. So make sure you have a string, something you can use where you can place it right onto the course of the river and follow all the curves, and then you would stretch out that string and compare it to the graph. For example, on the map for the Missouri River, and so you'll be asked to measure with a string the windiness of this river, and then down at the bottom here I have a scale, right? So you would stretch out your string and you figure out how many inches it covers, or how many of these bars it covers, and then you can figure out the true distance that it traveled, right? So that would be the meandering path. And then, so that'd be between these points, 765 and 755. And then you would just take a ruler and measure the straight distance between them. And then you compare that sinuosity there. Now, the second part here is, in lecture, I talk about how we can divide streams into 3 different stages: an early stage, a kind of a mature or middle stage, and then a really old stage. And it really has to deal with this idea of base level. And so streams that are stage 1, or these early stage useful streams, are going to have a higher gradient. In other words, they're going to be steeper. That's because they're higher above their base level. Remember, base level is the lowest point a river can cut. Remember, rivers are cutting down into their channel, and as they cut more and more into the channel, they eventually want to reach base level. You cannot cut any lower than base level, because once you cut below base level, usually that base level is an ocean, then water would be flowing upstream, so you're not going to have that. So what happens with these stage 1 streams, there's a higher component of this vertical erosion, right? Higher degree of vertical erosion because they're cutting into their channel. But as you get to the later stages streams, you'll see that, for example, stage 3, you're going to have higher lateral erosion, because these streams, they're already close to their base level. And so instead of cutting into their channel, they're going to be cutting side to side. So these streams end up being these meandering streams, right? Sinuous streams, because now there's a higher degree of lateral erosion. So this is a little bit of background material on that. We'll also be looking at these drainage patterns. And the key thing is understanding what type of, or at least what the pattern tells you about the nature of the bedrock, whether it's homogeneous, or whether it's mixed or folded, or whether it's fractured, right? So dendritic is telling you something that the rock is all pretty uniform underneath. Rectangular, there's some fractures going on, and usually it involves some sort of limestones. Limestones often have these fractures. Radial pattern, will be you're draining some hilltop, some mountain here. And then trellis patterns when you do have this heterogeneous rock where there's some softer rock, some harder rock, and it usually involves folding. If you look at the side, you see the kind of the syncline and anticlines here. So the more resistant layers tend to be ridges and the softer layers tend to be the valleys. But the key thing about this trellis pattern is note that there are many smaller streams that enter a main stream at right angles. See how they're all at right angles? So that's pretty unique about this. And one of the problems we have, I think it's a trellis pattern, but I'll let you guys decide. All right, so this first problem, this idea of, we're going to be looking at a website called Streamer. It's run by the U.S. Geological Survey, and I have the link here, but when I tried it, it wasn't working. But so the best thing to do is just to Google search Streamer USGS, and so let's do that here. All right, so here I entered Streamer USGS, and it'll take you to this. You want to click on this usgs.gov site, and once you get in here, you'll want to click on this map. You can click anywhere on this map, and it'll take you to the Streamer site, and then you just go directly to map. So click on this Go to Map. And now what I recommend is up at the top here, you can just enter whatever stream you're looking for. So if you're in San Jose, we can put in Santa Clara County. There it is. So Guadalupe River, that's the one that goes through downtown San Jose. It's going to bring us down there, and it's going to show us where it is right in there. And so we'll kind of put this over to the side, and we could zoom in a little bit more. So once we're in Streamer, we could pick San Jose or whatever. You can pick your own community. Again, you can pick any river you want. And then what we want to choose here, we're going to choose this Trace Upstream tab. So on the website, Trace Upstream, click on that. And then we want to click somewhere in San Jose here, right? We'll just click right here in San Jose. And it's going to show us that the Guadalupe River really originates up in the Santa Cruz Mountains here, right? And then let's see what else we have on the lab here. And so then we want to click this tracer report and select a detail report and see what it says there. So up in here you'll see this tracer report and then detail report. And now we can answer some of the questions that the lab is asking here. So the first question it's asking is, what stream did you study? Well, we put Guadalupe River, right? So the Guadalupe River is right there. What is the elevation and coordinates of that point that I just clicked? And you can see the elevation is 68 feet, and then the latitude is 37 degrees, 30.334 degrees north latitude. That's latitude. And this negative means that we're west of the prime meridian, so we're 121.9 degrees west longitude. So that's longitude and latitude, so you'd add those numbers in here. And then through how many communities does the stream flow before it gets to this point? And that should be the cities count here. So there's 3 cities, right? So you'd put that there, cities count, right? How many named streams does water flow to this point? And so that's a streams count. So do we have that in here? So cities count, streams names, 4. There are 4 that are named before it enters the Guadalupe River. And then as we go along here, what is the total length of the stream? And so the total length of the stream should be somewhere in here, miles, 28 miles. So you'd enter that. And then now we can close this tab here. And it says to just close the top, this gray. You want to keep the map open because now we want to do something else here. So we'll click the downstream tab, then click on approximately the same point we did. Okay, so let's do that. So downstream, we'll click right here. And now when you click on any part of the downstream trace of water, it will identify the name of the stream at that point. And listen, so let's do that. So let's just click down here. And it's still, so basically the Guadalupe River is kind of an easy one because it's just one that leads to, in this case, the Pacific Ocean, which really the San Francisco estuary does lead into the Pacific Ocean. So we've done that. And so really the only stream here, we would say Guadalupe River. It tells us right there. Now we want to do the tracer report and the detail report for this one. So tracer report, detail report. Now what they're asking us here, so how many named streams does the water flow downstream? And 1, it's just the Guadalupe River. That's asking through how many communities? And for the cities count, 3. We're still giving us 3 there. So I guess we're going through some other towns here. I guess Alviso is over here as well. And then what is the total length here from our point here are 12 miles, right? We have that there. And what's the outlet water body? And the outlet water body would be the Pacific Ocean, right? Outlet water body, Pacific Ocean. And now we'll close the stream and not the map. So let's close this. And we'll keep the map open. All right, so you see how I'm doing. I'm just kind of following the instructions. Just got to kind of lead through there. And now you can answer some questions here. In fact, this part here, we want to click on this upstreams tab again and then click the downstream end of the stream to that we identified over here. So what we want to do here, let's just clear the map here and do the upstream tab. And then I'm going to click in somewhere in here where we just were, kind of where the outlet was. And you can see now for this part, a third stream joins it up here, which must be the Los Gatos Creek. Yeah, Los Gatos Creek now joins it, right? So this is showing basically the drainage basin. So you could probably outline a little drainage basin for what's going on just for this Guadalupe River, right? So it's really coming from the Santa Cruz Mountains here. And now we can answer these questions, right? So you can look at this and check out what's going on with these tributaries and then answer these questions here. So